So I hit my first $100,000 month in June of 2023 when I was 26 years old. And in the 2 years since then, or almost 2 years since then, I've continued to on average hit somewhere around that $100,000 mark. And I've had record months as high as $320,000. And so in today's video, I wanted to share with you 6 lessons that I learned on the way to that milestone and in the 2 years since hitting that milestone that 1, would have helped me get there a lot sooner, but 2, made the last 2 years of maintaining that amount a hell of a lot easier. And so hopefully after watching today's video, 1, you can get to that milestone a lot sooner if that's something that you have the ambition to do, but 2, help you maintain that milestone when you eventually get there and build a sustainable business that can make 7 figures a year. My name's Noske. I've been a content creator since 2016, and in the last 2 years, I've scaled my info product business from 0 to 7 figures per year. And now I'm trying to make videos to help some of you hopefully do the same. Lesson number 1 is hard work is overrated. I think for a lot of my early days as an entrepreneur, and this is more just a sign of the things that I grew up with, the chip on my shoulder that I've had my entire life, but I always had in my mind that if I just put in more hours, if I just put in more effort, I will make more money. And to a certain extent, that's true. To make $10,000 a month, you just work harder. To make $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, and even $50,000 a month, you just work harder. But in order to get to $100,000 a month, and honestly, in order to sustain that amount, you have to do something other than work hard. See, working hard is kind of like a hammer. It's pretty fucking good at the job it does. But as soon as a job doesn't require a hammer and you keep hitting that thing with a hammer, you're just gonna break it. And I think building a business beyond that $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month mark is kind of like graduating from being able to use a hammer on the job. It requires a more sophisticated set of tools, something other than a hammer, in order to reach that milestone. For me in my business, getting to my first $50,000 a month was nothing but hard work. It just required me posting more content, creating more offers, promoting my products more, sending more emails, doing more of everything and working harder. But in order to get to $100,000 a month, it required me selling my knowledge. It required me building better systems. It required me building a better team. It required me getting smarter about the work that I was doing. And the same is even more true in how I've been able to maintain that since hitting that $100,000 milestone, because there is zero chance that I would have been able to maintain it. In fact, in all likelihood, I would have hit that milestone if it was just hard work, and then the very next month would have been a fraction of that amount. But in reality, I got to that milestone by selling my knowledge, not my hard work, not my time, by building a team, by building better systems, by doing all the things, by using more sophisticated tools for the job. So the first lesson here is not to tell you not to work hard. You do need to work hard, and you do continue to need to work hard even after your business is scaled. But the reality is if you just keep pulling that lever of I'll work harder, eventually you're going to crumble. And in those moments where you crumble, what is then left to hold your business up? In your worst months, in the months where you don't feel like doing it, in the months where things come crumbling down, is your business going to be able to sustain the level that you're at? Or have you just worked eye-wateringly hard to the point that you're now burnt out and your revenue crumbles? And so if right now you're selling a service or a digital product or a physical product or whatever it is you're selling and you're sitting at $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month, and right now for you to hit that revenue amount, all you're doing is working harder each month, know that if you want to scale beyond that, it might actually require stepping back, investing in your knowledge, investing in you as an entrepreneur, working less in order to then scale beyond. Because really, if you look at the math of getting to $100,000 a month, you're not gonna get there by squeezing more into a 24-hour period. You're gonna get there by leveraging more of your 24-hour period. And so it's not that you don't need to work hard, but if your goals are bigger than $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month, you're gonna have to find new tools for the job. Lesson number 2 is you'll get there by doing less. When I first started my business in 2017, my income was whatever the fuck anyone would pay me for. Some days it was photography, some days it was video, some days it was social media management. It was essentially a process of putting my name out there and saying yes to whatever anyone would pay me for any amount of money. And that's normal. That's a part of starting a business and getting your feet wet in this game, because in the beginning, you don't have the knowledge to be able to leverage into some kind of sophisticated offer. And so you sell your time. And so it's pretty normal in the early days for you to be making an amount of money each month from a little over here, a little over here, a little over here, a little over here. But in order to scale beyond that, you're going to have to simplify. And especially if you want to get to 6 figures a month and beyond. For me, I love the idea from Russell Brunson of one offer, one avatar, $1 million. When you truly want to scale to $1 million or 6 figures a month, you're going to have to simplify down to one offer, one avatar in order to get to $1 million. I hit my first $50,000 month in January of 2023. I hit my first $49,688 month in November of 2022, which I wish was the $50,000 mark, but it was actually in January of 2023 when I officially hit that $50,000 mark. I made that $50,000 that month from a suite of different digital products and a series of one-off workshops that I was running. I had a whole bunch of different offers that all of my content was driving traffic to independently that all together added up to $50,000. But by the time I got to $100,000 in June, a little later that year, I was selling almost no of my digital products. I had a few sales coming in the door, but none of my promotion, none of my social media content, none of my marketing was directing traffic to those things. It was purely directing traffic to my online program, Time to Build. I had fully switched from having a suite of different digital products and a series of one-off workshops and focused solely on one offer with one avatar in order to make $1 million. And in 2024, I made $1 million from refining my process. And so you're going to make it by doing less. I think a lot of people mistakenly hear the stat of the average millionaire has 7 income streams without realizing that most of the time, those 7 income streams are just different places that they're putting their money in order to grow their wealth. They use capital in order to create income streams. But that initial capital that they made in order to have the ability to even do that was made from one income stream. And so for you just starting out, if you're yet to make your first $1 million, then you need to understand that in order to get there, you're going to need to simplify. You will get there by doing less, not more. And so it's okay right now if you're making a little bit of money from sponsorships, a little bit of money from ad revenue, a little bit of money from digital products, maybe an online course, maybe a physical product, all of those different things. But as soon as you notice one thing working, as soon as you notice one thing exceeding the value of all the rest, cut out everything else and focus 100% on that thing, because 100% focus in one area will always yield better results than dividing your attention across everything. And so even now that I've exceeded that one offer, one avatar, $1 million idea, I still feel this need to refine the things that I'm doing down to an even simpler business model in order to scale even further. And so don't get caught in this trap of having half a dozen different income streams that are dividing your attention all equally and then expecting that to turn into a big amount. And if it does, even if you get lucky, if you have a massive viral moment that sends a shitload of traffic to a bunch of different places, understand that if you want to scale consistently and you want to maintain that amount monthly so you can get to 7 figures a year, not just 6 figures for 1 month of the year, then you need to build something simple. You will get there by doing less, not more. Number 3, you are paid in direct proportion to your ability to create a result for others. I heard this great line recently. I can't remember where I heard it, whether I read it in a book or heard it on a podcast, but I heard this great line. You are paid in direct proportion to your ability to create a result. Therefore, to get what you want out of life, help other people get what they want out of life. And it just completely broke my mindset in terms of online business, because I think a lot of us, when we start, especially if you come from a freelancing background, you think in a compensatory mindset. You think, I want to make $10,000, so what do I have to do to get that? Or I want to charge this much money for this thing. What do I have to give to get that? Whereas if you shift your focus and focus on the result that you are creating, whether it's your product or your service, focus on the result that that thing is creating, then it's only natural that you'll be paid a portion of the value that you create for people. And so for me, this shifted my mindset from I want to make a certain amount of money with my program to I want to provide a certain amount of value to the marketplace, and hopefully I will be paid back a portion of that value, which helped me come up with the idea or my mission for my brand, which is I want to help 1,000 creators make their first $100,000 online. That's $100 million worth of value. If I'm successful in doing that, it's only natural that I should be paid a portion of that value back in return for me providing that value to the marketplace. And so for all of you, if you're providing a service, rather than thinking how much can I charge and what do I have to give in order to dictate that price, think how much of a result can I create for my clients and what is that result worth? And then how much can I be compensated for providing that value to people? If you want to make a lot of money, rather than thinking, how can I charge a lot of money, or how can I do a lot of work, or how can I sell a lot of a particular thing? If you want to make a lot of money, think about, how can I make a lot of other people a lot of money, or a lot of other people a result? And don't mistake this. A lot of my students, or a lot of the people that I work with who are, say, fitness creators or musicians, or they're in an industry where the result that they're providing isn't necessarily monetary, or there's not a monetary value attached to that result. You need to understand that it's the value of the result, not the literal monetary value. And so if you're helping people lose weight, what is that worth to people? If you're helping people gain more time, what is that worth to people? If you're helping people create better music, or you're helping people get a better result, or you're helping people get into a better college, or whatever the thing is that you do, whatever the service you provide is, what is that worth, and how much of that can you give the world in order to create the amount of money that you want to make? If you want to make $10 million, rather than thinking, I want to make $10 million, think, I want to provide $100 million worth of value. If you want to make $1 million, think, I want to help someone create $10 million. I want to help businesses create $10 million worth of value in their business, and you will undoubtedly be paid a portion of that value back. This completely shifts, at least from my perspective, has completely shifted my mindset from a need to a giving mindset. When you need something, you act in a needy way. When you want to make something, you're taking. But when you're giving something, when you're giving to the marketplace, it's only natural that people feel instinctively like they want to give you something in return. And so if you go out there with a service as a videographer, let's say, rather than thinking, how much do I need to be paid for this video? Think, how much does this video create in terms of value for the people I'm making it for? And it should completely shift your perspective on how you can hit your own monetary goals by providing results for other people. Number 4, and we're going to switch here. The next 3 are much more mindset related in terms of hitting this amount of money, getting to this milestone, and some of the things that I've experienced since getting to this milestone. We're halfway through the video now, so the normies have probably pissed off, and I'm left with the people who are truly interested in this video. And so these next 3 lessons are going to be much more related to my experience since hitting this milestone, and some of the things that I want you to keep in mind if this is something that you have the ambition to do. Lesson number 4 is that your why needs to be bigger than the money. See, $100,000 is a stupid amount of money for anyone in their 20s to make in a single month. Even for a business, even after taxes are taken into consideration, even after my employees are paid, even after everything is done and I walk away with my fair share, it is still a ridiculous amount of money. And so if you're only motivated by the material possessions you get to own as a result of that money, or you're only motivated by the money itself or the status that you get with that money, that motivation isn't going to last, because it's a ridiculous amount of money. And to be completely honest with you, my business, when I was making $20,000 a month, around $15,000 to $25,000 a month, every single month with just low ticket digital products in 2022, my business then was so much easier. So much easier, so much simpler. And I'm not just rose tinted glasses for back then. It was. All I had to do was make content, direct people to a landing page, make sure the conversion rate was high enough, and I made a good amount of money every single week. And that was my business. And to get sort of candid with you guys for a little bit, I've shared glimpses of this sort of stuff before. But for me, even now, even with everything I've accomplished, even with the state that my business is in, I am hungrier than I've ever been, because I'm not just earning for me. I'm not just earning for me and my fiance. I'm not just earning for my future. I'm earning for my family. I'm earning for the situation my dad went through, who he's still going through it. I'm earning to try and help them make sure they have a retirement. I'm earning to get him out of his own struggles that he's still going through with bankruptcy trustees and the person who fucked him over and all these different things that are going on in my life. I'm hungrier now than I've ever been, even with all of the success, even with all the money, because my why is so much bigger than just the money. And so I don't even really give a fuck about what my business is making, as long as it's enough to help me make sure that I'm putting in money aside for my own future, for me and my fiance's future and our family, but then also helping my family or my parents get through their situation. And so your why has to be bigger than the money. And so if your motivations are to build a 7-figure business and beyond, if your motivations are bigger than just making a couple $1,000s so you have the freedom to do whatever you want every day, you have to understand that the bigger your business gets, it's actually going to get more difficult. It's going to get more stressful. My days are more stressful now than they were when I was just starting, because there's more pressure, there's more employees, there's more expectations, there's more responsibility, there's more everything. Even though from the outside perspective, people would look at my results and think that my life must be easier now as a result of the things that I've achieved. And so if you want to do this, one, I would encourage you to think about why you want to do it in the first place. Because if you just want to make $100,000 so you can say you made $100,000, go for it. But I would urge you to think about what that actually means for you and your business and your life. Because making $20,000 a month, $30,000 a month is an incredible fucking lifestyle. If you've got a lifestyle business that makes you $30,000 a month at 90% profit margins and you pay, a pretty normal amount of taxes, you have a great fucking life. You have an incredible fucking life. But getting beyond that, building a team, having employees, having responsibilities, having huge fucking tax burdens, all of the things that come with a bigger business, you have to understand that it's not necessarily going to create a better life. More is not just going to create better. And so understand that if you do want to do this, your why needs to be bigger than the money. Or unfortunately, you're going to get here and realize that it didn't create the thing you want or the life you thought you wanted. And that's going to be a really fucking depressing thing to experience when you accomplish the goals that you wanted and get here and go, oh, right, it didn't help me do any of the things that I thought I wanted to do. It didn't create the life I wanted. I'm just here with more responsibility, more money in my bank account, granted, but I'm not any happier. My life isn't any easier. The things I'm going through aren't any different. You just have a bigger business. Essentially, all I'm trying to say is that I never would have gotten here, and I certainly wouldn't have maintained it if I was only motivated by the material possessions I wanted to own as a result of getting here. And so if that's all you want, I would maybe encourage you to try to find a why that's a little stronger than the watch you want to own or the car you want to drive. Because you can have those things at a lot less money, to be honest. Lesson number 5 is you have to develop an abundance mindset. And I know we're getting into woo-woo sort of esoteric tips here, but I've always struggled enormously with self-doubt. It's always been something that I've lived with. I think I carried it for so long because it was self-doubt when I was younger that then turned into a chip on my shoulder, and that chip on my shoulder motivated me to work harder than anyone else. And arguably, one of the hardest things to overcome is the realization that although it's an unhealthy mindset, it could be the very thing that got me here today. And so I've always struggled with this level of self-doubt where I doubt my ability to do the things that I do, but I also doubt my ability to maintain the things that I have achieved. And so although it's a mindset that gave me an incredible work ethic, it got me to where I am today, I have to admit to myself that I think it's slowed me down an enormous amount. See, for me, my self-doubt has made me incredibly conservative when it comes to reinvesting in my business, when it comes to hiring team, when it comes to investing in things like ads and marketing and all of the things that you need to do in order to continue to grow your business. It's made me very conservative, and that's slowed me down an enormous amount, because in the moments where I continued to grow, instead of feeling this urgency or this excitement for where I was going, I felt this fear that I wasn't going to be able to maintain it. And so for me, I lacked that abundance mindset. In moments, I truly didn't believe that I was going to be able to maintain $100,000 a month or $50,000 a month or any amount of money that I was making. I continued to surprise myself, honestly. And I would argue, as crazy as this is, I started this video by saying that I hit it in June of 2023. I genuinely think my self-doubt is the reason why I haven't exceeded that in the last 2 years. See, I went from 0 in June of 2022 to $50,000 a month by January, and then $100,000 a month by mid-2023, a year later. But I've not really surpassed that amount. Yes, I've continued to maintain it, and that comes with its own challenges, but I genuinely believe my lack of an abundance mindset, my extreme self-doubt, my lack of faith in my own ability to continue to maintain the things that I've achieved are the reason why I haven't continued to exceed that amount. And so for those of you watching this video who are a little like me, who have a lot of self-doubt, who lack an abundance mindset, who are very conservative like me and continue to exceed your own expectations, it's almost like each passing year is a surprise that you manage to maintain or exceed what you thought you were going to achieve. I promise you that mindset, that lack of self-belief is holding you back. And this is something I've only really started to fully acknowledge recently, and only really fully started to realize how much it's had a chokehold on my ability to scale my business, on my ability to scale myself out of the business, earn my time back, and grow this into something that actually supports the lifestyle that I want to live. And so I would encourage you, although it's corny and it's woo-woo and it's not a piece of advice that's going to add an extra zero to your bank account immediately, work on your mindset. Because if I can give you an analogy that'll help you understand from my perspective after achieving what I have with the experience I now have, and I guess the recent self-awareness of just how much I doubt myself and how much it's holding me back, it's the equivalent of running a marathon with ankle weights on. Yeah, sure, with enough training, you can probably achieve a pretty good marathon even with the ankle weights on. But if you instead just take the 5 seconds or the amount of time required to bend over and take the ankle weights off, you'll immediately achieve 5 times, 10 times the results you were by taking the time to fix the thing that's holding you back rather than continue to strive forward in spite of the thing that's holding you back. And lesson number 6, be careful who you compare yourself to. See, for a lot of last year in 2024, despite the success of the year and despite my business growing and despite the milestones I hit, I spent a lot of last year searching for a better alternative. I really enjoyed the work I was doing. I really enjoyed the value that I was providing my students. I really enjoyed the program and the team I was building. I enjoyed everything. But when I looked around at all the other people creating content, all the other people sharing their own business models, I felt this deep sense of comparison. I always looked around and thought that whatever these other people were doing was better than what I was doing. But it wasn't until I started joining some of these programs and I looked under the hood that I realized, for one, that I already had results that a lot of these people wanted, but two, they're all exactly the same. See, every business owner, every online coach, every content creator is financially incentivized, myself included, to make you feel like their model, their business, their lifestyle, what they do is the best possible option and no other option exists. See, I'm always going to do my best to never speak in black and white, to never make you feel like my option is the only option, because it's just not true. But most people online are financially incentivized to make you feel like that is true, that their option is the best and no other option exists, because that's how they make their money. And so comparison is not only something that we're naturally designed to do, but it's something that the space is forcing us to do. Everything is pushing us to compare. Compare our lifestyle, compare our business, compare the things that we're doing to what everyone else is doing. And it wasn't until around mid last year that I finally, after joining a few programs, after speaking to a few people, after looking under the hood of a few people that I thought were doing better than me, that I finally stopped and thought, you know what? What I'm doing is not perfect. What I'm doing has its flaws, but as long as I deeply enjoy what I do each day, I service my clients and my clients are people that I like, and I get enough free time to live the life that I want outside of my work, then why the fuck am I looking for something better? And so you have to be really fucking careful who you compare yourself to, because more success won't necessarily silence that noise. If anything, more success will give you more questions, and more questions will make you seek out those answers in other people's business models, in other people's businesses, in other people's programs, in other people's content. But the more that you look outside from what you're doing, the less you're focused on what you're actually doing. And at the end of the day, you can make any business model work. Any business model, as long as it works with you and your lifestyle and what you want to do, is the answer that you need to choose. And so continue to do what you're doing. Stop worrying about what other people are doing. Stop focusing on the content of other people. Stop comparing yourself to others. Stop comparing your business and your revenue and the things that you're doing to other people, because at the end of the day, what's going on internally, what you're experiencing day to day is everything. What you're seeing online from other people is a tiny, 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 tiny percentage of the overall picture. No one's perfect. No one's got it all figured out. Everyone that you look at that puts on this facade of perfection, this facade of I have all of this figured out, is fucking lying to you, or at the very least not disclosing the entire picture. How many of these people, how many times have you seen this story where they'll portray one thing and then suddenly they'll shift and they'll talk about how that whole period of time they were doing something they didn't want to do. The classic example is, I spent 12 hours a day on sales calls, and then they switch to going, I'm not talking about sales calls anymore, even though they were promoting that business model when they were in it. They're not malicious, but they're sharing such a small percentage of the overall picture that it is a complete waste of time paying attention to anything that they do. I hope this video helps, and I'll see you in the next one.